Tim, I am pretty sure I bought a counterfeit basketball today.
Really? How would you even know?
This thing does not look right. I went to the store. They had a Modell. It's a New York sporting goods store. They had one on the main street near me. It shut down. Modell's is liquidating. So I'm walking around the street today. I'm going, where can I buy a basketball? I go into one of those little like shady looking stores that has a bunch of like stuffed animals and backpacks hanging in the windows.
A bodega?
And I find a basketball in there. Not a bodega. There's no food sold in this establishment. This place does not have a food license.
Okay.
I don't think they could sell soda if they wanted to. And I'm sifting through the different aisles full of coats and I find a basketball and it's Wilson branded and it's in a box and I bring it to the counter and I check out and they're very excited to sell this thing to me. And I get it out of the box when I get home and the lines on the basketball are so sloppy. It looks like somebody hand painted them in. It's got the Wilson logo on it. The whole thing just feels wrong. It's out of the box. There's no way I can return this thing, but it's like a little bit too bright. Something's just off. I think maybe it's going to work, but we'll see.
I feel like I know where you're going with this.
And that's a lot like the movie Thor, Love and Thunder. What a movie. I mean, this was so strange.
I was expecting, I don't know why I was expecting another part to that, but no, it's just nope, that's it.
The other part was
Thor
me
was like
waiting for you to come in.
I don't know.
No, I made my point.
Froze up a little bit. I wasn't sure. I get your point. Thor's like a basketball. And like a basketball, it's a beautiful game, my friend. I don't get tired of watching it. I care what happens. It's an incredible sport, and I'm here for it. Sure, maybe it's not exactly what you were expecting. Nobody wanted Boston in the finals, but still, we're here, and it's a lot of our friends, and we're looking around, and we're having a good time. And you know what? The more I've thought about this movie since watching it, the more I've been remembering it fondly. And I don't know if that's just my overly like my Thor love, but I'm thinking back about like there's more to love in this movie than to dislike in this movie. There's so many good scenes, so many funny moments. I've been looking back at it very fondly. I think I need to rewatch it. I'm definitely going to see it in theaters again, but I feel very positive about it. Much more positive than I did immediately after, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. I feel the same way. I think I also feel more positively about it in retrospect. I read an article about it today, and the whole gist of the article was that there are so many attempts at jokes that, of course, a lot of them aren't going to land. The article argues most of them don't land. I think I maybe agree with that, but also I don't necessarily think the audience thought they were getting a straight comedy. Like this had the tone, in my opinion, of like Anchorman 2. Like nobody in this movie was really taking it seriously except for Christian Bale. Was phenomenal, but was in a different movie from everybody else.
Which I think is very intentional, and I like it. And I'm a big fan of it. And somehow it is a comedy. It's an action comedy. I mean, it's to be taken very lightly until they want it to be taken seriously. And I think all the serious moments work for me. Like every time the bad guy shows up, they make jokes, but they're not making jokes that lower the stakes, if that makes sense. It feels like a lot of the humor around Christian Bale's character is like he is a real threat and people could really die and things could really happen that are of consequence that could have an effect on the rest of the Marvel universe. That's what I felt watching this. I was like, oh shit, things can happen here. Like there are actual stakes here. And they take some things very seriously. Like there's this beautiful scene where they're fighting him in like the shadow realm or the shadow world or whatever, something with shadows, and like the color scheme changes and everything's gray. And all of a sudden there's like no jokes. It's just like, it's just scary and fun and just like a cool battle sequence. And I love that. And that worked for me. I mean, I don't know. Do you disagree? You don't think it was as serious in the moments that needed it?
I think it was serious in moments that were like between Thor and Jane. I think the conversation that they had on the boat was one of the more serious ones. And that was really nice. The conversation they had in the hospital room was really nice. And honestly, when he sees Jane come to his aid in the final battle, that was one of the more interesting moments I've seen, definitely in a Thor movie, maybe in the MCU, because it's such a triumphant entrance and there's so much subtext that we know between these characters. That was really cool. But I do think that some of the moments with Gore, specifically when Gore had them tied up in the Shadow Realm and was coming really close into each of their faces, and Thor is still making jokes, I do think that robbed Gore of a little bit of his weight, because Gore looked so cool and Christian Bale played him so well. His character is like this incredible merger of really great effects and really great story and acting to back it up. It's exactly what I always say I want. And then come to find out, there's one more piece of the puzzle that I haven't even been watching, which is other characters agreeing to that reality and supporting it. It's there were parts of it that felt like a bad improv scene, because Gore was coming in and doing something really cool and scary, and Thor was negating it by still making flippant jokes. I would have liked to see a little bit more of a turn to in-game Thor there, you know?
There were like 2 jokes. I feel like I don't feel like there were that many like making fun of. There was something like, "Oh, your breath's bad" or something like that, but it still didn't feel like, I don't know. I'm trying to describe. It felt like the taunting of a cocky hero versus the reality subverting humor that had been going on for the rest of the show, you know, like the rest of the movie, right? Like there's a scene where they meet all these like gods, and one of them is like the god of dim sum, and it's like, this is world shattering. This is like purely just a bit. This is subverting everything about like how serious all these gods are. And now there's a dim sum god. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. This is the most absurd thing I've ever seen. It negates the power of Zeus. It's like I don't know. It's such out of character thing. And nothing like that happened when Christian Bale's character showed up. I keep saying Christian Bale's character because I don't remember what the guy's name was. Gore, the God Butcher. He's very cool, but I don't know. I think this tone was more like The Office. Like The Office is what they want to do, where it's like, this is a comedy. And then there's like a phone call with Pam and Jim walks in and kisses her. And you're like, oh, wow. Or like everyone's goofing off. Michael Scott's dumb. And then all of a sudden he's like, listen, I think all I have to do is wait out you. And you're like, damn, Michael Scott can do this. He's actually good at his job. Like, I feel like that's kind of what they were shooting for with this. And there were moments where it's like, oh shit, things are actually going to happen. Thor's actually a badass. Jane's actually a badass. Valkyrie's actually a badass. Gore is crazy. There were moments like that, but I think with that contrast, it's just hard. It's a weird tightrope act.
Yeah.
And I think all the criticisms of this movie are valid.
Oh, definitely.
It makes sense if you like weren't expecting comedy and it's a little too comedic. The tone is a little weird. I wish there had been a little bit more seriousness, like kind of like throughout the movie. But I think my take on this is that I think the rewatch is going to be great. I feel like this is going to be a movie that like people are going to want to rewatch over and over again, because you can just throw it on. The fight scenes are awesome. It looks incredible. And just, you can just like have it in the background. You can like this felt like the pinnacle of casual viewing for me, which maybe that's not what they're going for with Marvel. But once it's on Disney Plus, I feel like that thing's going to be playing constantly.
Oh, dude, I absolutely feel like it's what they're going for with this one. And I think that's one situation where it's advantageous that for this one, I came in expecting pretty much exactly what we got. I came in thinking like, okay, look at what James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy 1. They gave him a lot more rope with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It was all James Gunn jokes. Like once they see that initial success, Marvel's like, okay, take the reins. And with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you end up getting a little bit too much of that director's sensibilities without somebody to walk them back a little bit. So I was expecting the exact same thing to happen here, and it did. Meanwhile, the person that was sitting next to Lauren, like, I don't know, 15 minutes in the movie, leaned over to his girlfriend and went, "Is this a comedy?" Was completely flabbergasted by it, because the trailer made it look like it was going to be like a lighthearted, but still pretty epic, like space fantasy adventure. I mean, I felt I feel his pain because I felt betrayed in the same way by the trailer for Multiverse of Madness, which I thought was going to be like Infinity War level serious and just wasn't. So on that one, I think the rewatch is going to be great as well. Completely agree with you that the rewatch on this one's going to be fantastic.
This is why I'm anti-trailer, my dude. I just the trailers are a lie. They only take away from the movie. Trailers are bad. I agree with you. I feel like my expectations were so perfectly met, for better or worse, right? Like, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't better than I thought it was going to be, and it wasn't worse than I thought it was going to be, right? Like, it was just exactly, I feel like my expectation, I saw the note that, yeah, exactly what you said, where it's like Taika, it was much more Taika than the last one, and I was like, I know exactly what that means. I know exactly what that looks like. This movie is 100% what I expected. And I was a little disappointed at moments, but also a little pleased at other moments. And it just, I don't know if another movie has just completely met my expectations, like exactly in the same unsatisfyingly satisfying way that this movie has. It's really something. It's an achievement, I feel like.
I mean, yeah, there were definitely some things that didn't hit or went on too long, but the list of things that did hit were so long. Let's do a little compliment sandwich. I would say we've been overwhelmingly or like overarchingly positive so far. I wouldn't say overwhelmingly positive, but I definitely think on the whole, we've been positive on it so far. Let's dive into some beefs real quick. And then let's get to the thieves, because I think there's going to be a lot of these. So do you have any beefs off the bat?
Where's the beef?
Do I have any beefs? I guess I wish kind of what we were talking about, which is like, I kind of wish they cared about stuff a little bit. It just felt like a little too sloppy up top. The first third of the movie, I mean, I've seen this criticism everywhere. It's like the first third of the movie is like a little sloppy and not as tight as I think it could be. And they're just kind of like joking around. And like, it took me a while to get into the tone of the movie. I think probably on rewatch, I'm like right there with it at the beginning, but tonally it is very jarring up top that you're like, oh, Thor is just completely indifferent to everything happening around him. So I guess that's a beef. I wish there were more Guardians of the Galaxy. That's probably my other beef. Yeah. That's another trailer thing where you're like, oh, damn, the Guardians are going to be in this. And it's like, they were in it for half a day of shooting and then they all bounced, or maybe they shot a bunch more with them and just didn't use it. But the Guardians of the Galaxy are not in this movie. I don't think half of them speak. And that's a bummer because I fucking love them. And what about you? What's your biggest beef?
My biggest beef is that the opening scene with Gore was bad. The opening of the movie was a really strange. I don't know. Maybe it was intended to get us. I'm thinking about it now. I'm thinking through this live. So if this doesn't go anywhere, I apologize. I'm thinking maybe that opening scene was there to get us into the tone of the movie, because it starts off very grim, very dour, very serious, very Thor the Dark World. And then as soon as he sees the paradise of the gods after his daughter dies, the god that's there in the paradise is not taking anything seriously. The god that's there in paradise has the tone that the rest of the movie does. And then Gore has to confront that this is so different from what he expected. And then he ultimately kills this symbol for the entire movie and becomes a god himself that holds up a different tone throughout the entire movie. So maybe it doesn't map perfectly, but I thought it was really weird. I think it could have been more effective if we started with the battle scene with Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy. And maybe in that scene later in the movie, when Gore is talking to the kids, and he references, I had a daughter once. Maybe that's when we get his backstory dump and we find out why he's doing all this. Because I do think he has a really compelling backstory. But just something about that scene did not do it for me. I think maybe it was the flip of how quickly he went from someone that would be devoted to this god no matter what. He's the last person, the absolute last person that is still alive to worship this god who has done nothing for him. His daughter, the only thing he had in the world, just died in his arms. And still he meets this god and he believes in that god's promise of a paradise. And then within 40 seconds of screen time, he's willing to kill this god. Did that work for you?
I agree. No, I I think the order was right. I think like the thought was good. Like the idea of, I love opening with a villain. I think it's a good Marvel pattern. It makes sense to me. We're going to open with the villain. We're going to get his backstory so that we can spend like 20 or 30 minutes with like just the hero and like ignore the villain until we need him later. Right. It's like we've laid the groundwork and now we have the contradiction of the hero. They're like antithesis for each other. There was something that didn't work for me in about the intro as well, where I'm like, okay, this is a thought. I feel like, you know, the saying knowledge is power. I feel like knowledge is going to be to our detriment, like going forward in the MCU, right? Like knowledge of the comic books, I feel like is only going to hurt us because I did like some research on like the God Butcher and all of this. And his original story is him like on a planet and it's like kind of what we saw, but it just felt so much more epic in the comic. And he's praying every day and he's like looking to the sky and he's like, please give me water. Please save my daughter. Please. And he's just praying and like begging for salvation. And then two gods who are fighting each other crash land on his planet, and one of them is like, the bad one is like, one of them kills the other one, and then the other one's like barely clinging to life, and he asks Gore for help, and Gore picks up his sword and he says, fuck you weren't there for me, and it's just like, and kills this guy who needed him, right? Like the god turned around and asked him for something and he said, fuck you, I don't care about you haven't given me anything, you're not my god anymore. And that's just so powerful and so cool that when I see that in the beginning of the movie, I'm like expecting to open with something like that. If we're getting into like the nitty gritty of like writing, like we should have seen him praying more at the beginning of the movie. Before he even meets the god, he should be praying. There's like a scene where there's like a shot where he's on his knees and he's kind of praying, but we don't hear him asking anyone to save his daughter's life. We don't hear him asking for food. We don't hear him asking for what. We don't hear him asking his god of these things. He tells the god when he sees him face to face that he needed those things. But we don't see him want. We just see him. We don't see him do. We see him tell, if that makes sense. And that I thought was like a huge detriment from the beginning of the movie. Again, like rewatch it, I think it'll be fine. But like tonally, I was just I was expecting that to be a punch in the gut, and it wasn't, which sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of a thief, kind of a beef. I love the jokes with the hammers. You know, and he's like trying to get back with you here or whatever. And Stormbreaker's like following him around. A lot of that stuff is great. I think it's maybe a missed opportunity. You have another great beef, I feel like, which I don't want to jump on. But there were a couple things where I'm like, there were a couple moments where I'm like, why aren't you calling this joke back? This is like a recurring thing. Like he has an extra like magical relationship with Stormbreaker. And for that not to come back at the end, I feel like was a missed opportunity or like a weird thing that it's like he's talking to Stormbreaker. He's like, please stop, Stormbreaker. Please, you can do it. He's talking to Stormbreaker like he thinks Stormbreaker could respond to what he's saying. Excuse me. And then it doesn't. Then it's just he frees it. It falls over. It's just a hammer. He throws it to this guy and then it leaves. Then Stormbreaker's gone. So like they've set it up like a dog relationship, like a pet or something. And then that's never cashed in, which is very disappointing. I feel like it was a big beef for me because it was such a good joke, such a good bit, I thought.
Oh my God, such a good bit. I 100% agree. I could not believe that it didn't come back in that final scene. And I think they called it back at the wrong time. I think that's one of those jokes where you do the thing up top and then you can just call it back at the end of the movie. I think you get maybe like a max 2 more times with that. And the one where he's talking to Stormbreaker when he's at the, like, I don't know, the front of the ship. I don't know ships. I don't know what that's called. The bow. The
bow.
Yeah. When he's I got it right. Perfect. When he's at the bow.
But you don't know ships at all, though. You just want to clarify to anyone listening. Kevin knows nothing about ships.
Don't. I couldn't even identify a real basketball today. Okay. Like, don't even try to get me on a ship. When he's at the bow and he's talking to Stormbreaker, I don't really feel like anything consequential comes in that scene. I would have loved it if we just got the initial moment where Stormbreaker gives him side eye. That almost made me cry laughing. I loved it. And then maybe at the end where he's like trying to stop Stormbreaker from opening up the Bifrost. Maybe we get a moment where it's like is this about the other hammer? It means nothing to me. And then like maybe has to like say something to Mjolnir too. Like, I didn't mean that. Like we're all going through something right now.
I'm still hung up on you saying I couldn't even recognize a basketball today. Don't get me started on ships. Like the two of them are somehow related. Like if you don't have a basic knowledge of sports equipment, how could you possibly identify like a sea craft?
Wow. Well, Tim, sailing is a sport, and I'm tired of you acting like it's not. So. Oh,
okay. No, I gotcha. You don't know anything about any sports, including boats.
Yep.
Boats are a sport.
We found the common ground.
I gotcha. Yeah. By the way, the Nerdy for 30 cruise is coming up, so get your sports shorts and athletic wear ready. We're ready to roll.
Oh my God. Yeah, we're going to be doing a new podcast every night. But it's the same
7
podcast.
Nights, 7 podcasts.
So we're going to do the same one on a Sunday and a Monday. And then we'll do a new one on Tuesday, but repeat that one on a Wednesday.
We're going to perform like cruise ship comics where we do 6 hours a day and we just alternate like a dirty set and like a clean set. And we just do that same 2 hours like back to back to back. But it's just us doing the podcast. And it's that we're going to be work like dogs. It's going to suck. Do not sign up for the cruise because if you do, we're going to have to do it. And I'm convincing myself not to as we speak.
I already told you once this episode, do not get me on a boat. Yeah, the other big beef I had, I'm going to hit the thing again.
Where's the beef?
I think this is my biggest beef with the movie. Thor gets this moment with Sif. Sif realizes that her arm has been chopped off. She thinks she's going to Valhalla. He says that's only for if you die. Maybe your arm's in Valhalla. The post-credit scene of the movie is Natalie Portman showing up to Valhalla. How in the fuck did we not get a button on the entire movie of her having this nice moment with Heimdall and then looking a little bit to his left and going, is that an arm? It was right there. It was right there. To the point where he had to have decided not to do it. And I'm just curious why. Maybe it's because anybody can think it up, but I think it would have been really satisfying.
He definitely decided not to do it. I feel like it's a world problem, which sucks. I feel like that was something that they had there. And then Marvel was like, you can't actually, because we're going to do a Valhalla Disney Plus show.
Oh my God. And can you imagine?
We can't have parts of Vikings just like flopping around. You know, we're going to have Idris Elba. We're going to have Natalie Portman. It's going to be 6 episodes in Disney Plus. And we need this. And it's like, ugh.
But the problem is with Taika's tone, a pile of arms totally plays. Like, think about
totally does.
What was the dude's name? He was Carl Urban played him in the first one. The first Taika one.
Oh, yeah.
The
Executioner.
Yeah. Executioner had a shake weight and he's like, behold, my stuff. Like, pile of arms totally plays in the same tone as that.
Oh, it totally works for him, which is why I think somebody told them not to. That's my take, because they're trying to do all this like world building stuff. Also, I'm like, why did they even show us? Do we need that? Like, we know she's in Valhalla. Do we need it handed to us? Why did they do that? Why did they show us Natalie Portman and Idris Elba in a world that exists, that is out there?
Dude, it's fucking odd. The only explanation that I have for it is that you're unfortunately right. And there's going to be some kind of like a Valhalla thing. But then they need to explain, I'm sorry, everyone, this is going to make everybody sad. They need to explain why Chadwick's not there. Like, there's so many different, like, it opens up a whole can of worms when you start showing the afterlife in these things.
Are all of his friends from the first Thor movie there?
Oh my God, you would hope. But what if they couldn't get him contracted again? It's just a mess, Tim.
I think you could get around Chadwick with just saying this is for Norse gods. This isn't heaven. This is like Norse gods die. They go to Valhalla. You know, Zeus dies. He goes somewhere else. Like, this is just for Asgardians.
I mean, I guess actually thinking about it, this isn't the first time we've seen it because we did see it in Black Panther. So that is still an open problem that they have to solve as to why they can't.
We saw Valhalla in Black Panther?
No, we saw the green place. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's the like Bast spiritual realm because he goes there and has a conversation with his dad. I was thinking a similar thing. Mild spoilers for Kenobi. I was thinking a similar thing with Kenobi where he keeps talking. Kenobi. He keeps talking to Qui-Gon Jinn, but Qui-Gon Jinn doesn't show up. And I was like, could they straight up not get Liam Neeson back for this? And it's going to become a major story point for Obi-Wan Kenobi's character. Oh boy.
I kind of hate that Liam Neeson was in it.
I just hate what it implies. But enough hatred. We're at like the 27-minute mark. Let's talk about what we like.
I think you're a thief.
I'm going to start off hot with this one. The opening fight scene with Thor is so fucking good. Him doing the splits and blocking those ships while he flexes. That was like the best welcome to this movie. Here's what it's going to be. I loved it so much. The fucking like Jim Henson biker owl creatures are some of my favorite creatures I have ever seen on screen.
It's so funny.
Oh my God. If they released like a puppet of one of those, I'm buying 20.
They're so good. They're so funny. It's just a great fight scene. God, I feel like it just like walks the line of like exactly what Taika wanted to do. I feel like that was exactly it, where it's like a comedy fight scene, like epic fights, and then just like dumb, but just like an underlying tone of indifference. And yeah, it was great. It was so good. Man, I don't know. Trying to come up with like one thief is tough. I gotta say, I just like, I just really like everyone in this movie. Is that a thief?
Are you giving a participation award right now?
I'm saying I could watch Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson and honestly Gore. What's his name? What's Taika's character? Korg. I could watch the three of them do anything and I would have a great, like give me a Disney Plus show of them. Just the three of them hanging out. I don't care what it is. Like it could be the three of them in a waiting room. It could just be bottle episodes of the three of them hanging out. And I feel like it would work. I just love these characters so freaking much. Natalie Portman, a great addition. I don't know if I feel the same affinity for her character, but her transformation into Thor and back and like the story that she's going through, so good, so cool. The thing with her hammer, I love that it's still in pieces. It's just the effects for that were so awesome. It was just, she's so good, man. The characters in this are great. Like, man, I just still love Thor. Thor's my favorite, man. Thor was my favorite growing up as a kid. And this like stoner, whatever, forgetful, like laissez-faire Thor is like not, the Thor I grew up with, but I love it. And I feel like it's even better. I just feel like it's one of the best characters in the MCU. It just is. It's different because everyone now is doing Tony Stark, right? Like everyone after Tony Stark was doing like a snarky, I'm better than you, whatever. And Thor's the only one doing something different, which is like this kind of like bro, which is great. And I love it. And I'm here for it.
It's amazing. It's like they finally found a way to spin off the fun sitcom character into their own show, but it works.
100%. Oh man, I've got that COVID brain right now. Like that brain. I had COVID and now I've got like that brain fog and it just like hits me every once in a while where I'm like reaching for something and I'm like, there's an idea right here and it's gone. It's just like that in the cough. I was like, man, I'm so close. I was like, man, as soon as Kevin started, I've got a great point about this Thor thing. And then I was like, nope, it's gone. I got nothing. I don't know where it went, but it's out of here, man. I'm trying to remember what I was thinking about. Oh God. But regardless, these guys they're great.
You got this, man.
They're so good.
You got this.
Oh, another thief. It was like kind of a beef. God, what was it? It was like I feel like it was a thiefy beef, a big old beefy thief. That's just me stalling before I come up with what I was going to say. What were we talking about? The thing, the fight, the whatever.
I'm never going to give a shout out.
It's gone. I'm excited for your shout out. What is it?
I want to give a shout out to Natalie Portman for getting fucking ripped.
Yeah,
she got so jacked. Fucking jacked for this role. Good on her. You love to see it. It's great.
I love it. I love people getting jacked. It's great. I mean, Chris Hemsworth has that whole app that I'm sure the whole cast was on. Was it Circle, or whatever?
Center. I think it's called
Center. They're all just on center getting ripped. Christian Bale looks good. Christian Bale, I feel like I'd have such a gamble with it. Like where they're like, hey, we need you to gain 60 pounds for this movie. I'd be like, hell yeah. And then they're like, okay, but you got to lose that 60 pounds again. I'd be like, uh-oh. And Christian Bale just does whatever he wants with his body. He doesn't give a shit. He'll get fat for something. He'll get skinny for something. He was kind of jacked in Thor, I feel like, for Christian Bale. He was muscular looking, not like overly jacked. Chris Hemsworth, by the way, almost too jacked. Am I correct?
Oh my
there
God,
were moments
dude.
in this when he's not in the Thor costume, he looks okay because there's like it's like bulky, but him in just a t-shirt is like unhuman. He is just absurd looking.
Dude, he eats we saw this, it popped up on Instagram yesterday for Lauren and I. He eats like 4,500 calories a day. I think it's like,
of course he does,
7 pounds of food or something like that.
Yeah,
he's
in Australia, so it's like dingoes and venomous snakes and like all kinds of shit. He's just like going out into the bush, like ripping like some roots out of the ground, gnawing on those while he like runs up a mountain with his surfboard. It's like this guy's doing all kinds of stuff. He's like monkey crawling on the ground. Like this guy is the peak physical specimen of what a man should be. I just saw this is a real aside, but I saw they're like making the Barbie movie and it's like Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling and they're like shooting in LA. And so there's all these like photos of them out like shooting in LA. And I saw Margot Robbie and I was like, this is one of the most beautiful people on the planet. She deserves this. She is Barbie. She is like perfection. And then you see Ryan Gosling as Ken, and I'm like, who is this fucking noob just like hanging out with Barbie? Ken is a dork, I guess. Ken's a fucking loser. Like, I don't know. I'm out on Ryan Gosling. That's my take. I'm out on Ryan Gosling.
My
Fuck
God.
him. I don't care. As Ken, are you kidding me? Is Ken supposed to be a hunk? Because then why do we have Ryan Gosling, this skinny dweeb who like somehow hooked up with Eva Mendes? It makes no sense.
What?
So I'm
Fuck?
throwing Ryan Gosling under the bus. He doesn't hit any of my 4 quadrants of an actor. This is a whole nother episode. But I was like, who would be Ken? I couldn't think of anything, but thinking about what male actor I would want to be Ken, I'm just like, oh, Chris Hemsworth is just the ideal man. I feel like in this scenario, he's just, if you were trying to make Ken like a manly dude, it's Chris Hemsworth or nobody. There's nobody else on the tier of Chris Hemsworth. And in the meantime, they're settling for little punks like Ryan Gosling. That's my take. So you got any thieves on Thor?
Ryan Gosling? You dropped
What
that
has he
shit
ever
on
done
me
for
when
me?
we have 3 minutes left.
What has he done? He's not a good actor. He's not funny. He's not a badass. That's all it takes to be out for Tim Kack.
Have you seen
You heard it here
anything he's ever been in?
Honestly, no.
Oh my God. Have you seen Crazy Stupid Love?
No, but I'm out on it. I just
Are
don't
you
want it.
fucking
I don't want to
kidding me?
watch it.
You're going to love Crazy Stupid Love so much. You've never seen Crazy Stupid Love? Tim, you're going to love this movie.
I know I would because I love a rom-com. I just don't. I've seen parts of it and I'm just like Ryan Gosling coaching Stephen Carell.
You've seen
I don't
parts
need
of it.
this.
Keep Ryan Gosling's name out of your mouth. Go watch this movie.
I don't need
Then
it.
you come back here and you apologize.
Oh. And then you get the lady Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, like on the other side of the screen. Like, what are we doing? What is this? Who is this for? Who wants this? Why not? Might as well watch my neighbors talk. Like, this is just.
Oh my God, dude. Emma Stone is a wonderful Asian actress.
Did you say
And I
half
won't
Asian?
have you disparaging her like this.
I think she's Hawaiian, technically.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a movie that I've never seen, and I never plan on seeing that movie.
Oh my God, you haven't seen Aloha? Dude, you don't know it. You can't even talk to me about Emma Stone unless you've seen it.
That's fair. That's fair. Oh my God.
Okay, any other fire takes before we wrap up the pod?
Oh boy. No. I'm with you. You know what? I got one. I like the goats. Okay? I like them. Were there too many goat scenes? There were probably too many goat scenes. Definitely one, maybe two too many goat scenes. The goats smacking into the planet, very funny bit. Worth the goats. Oh my God. And when they do the cutaway to the goats on the Guardian ship, just being absolute monsters, and Nebula's like, all right, I'm killing them.
I think I laughed every time I saw the goats. Every time I heard the goats, I think I laughed.
It's just, That Guardians moment is exactly what I want. If you just gave me like, okay, I'm going to show you 30 seconds of the Guardians of the Galaxy's life. That's all that I want. It's perfectly that. All right. You ready to wrap things up?
Yeah, man. Let's wrap it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, what did you think? Do you agree with us? Thor actually was pretty good and you're going to like it more on the rewatch? Do you disagree with us? Was Thor terrible? Are we completely wrong? Did we need more goats? Let us know. Send us an email, nerdyfor30@gmail.com. Wherever you're listening to this right now, give us 5 stars, 5 stars.
And Ryan Gosling, yes or no?
We're not even opening that up to a poll.
It'll be a poll on Spotify. Check it out.
Oh my God. Flip a one-sided coin. Is Ryan Gosling good? Fuck out of here.
You don't even know what a boat is. You can't tell me what about Ryan Gosling. Basketballs, boats, Ryan Gosling, 3 things you know nothing about. Whereas I've seen all I need for all 3 of them.
Oh my God.
I get it. I saw all of those and I was like, I get it. I get it, boats.
Tim is wearing an NBA championship ring, the jacket from Drive, and a captain's hat right now.
Is that where this jacket's from? I've gotten so many compliments on this jacket.
Have you not seen Drive?
No, but people keep telling me this jacket's never looked so good.
You're a fucking maniac.